Why does nothing truly change? Even when a part of you screams that you are ready, you've felt the insistent pull of an unseen tether, a silent resistance to transformation. It's the observer effect, not some abstract scientific curiosity, but the invisible bars of your daily prison. Yourself, that familiar collection of memories and beliefs, observes, and in that very act, locks reality into place. You crave a new existence, a different life, yet the script never quite rewrites itself. This isn't coincidence. It's the meticulous work of hidden attention filters, diligently preserving the timelines you unconsciously feed. Imagine, for just 5 minutes, stepping into public not as you, but as a complete stranger to your own identity. Watch how the world, and everyone in it, subtly recalibrates around this non-you. The fabric of reality shifts in response. This experiment reveals a profound truth. The you observing is not fixed, it is a variable. When that familiar, dominant self momentarily disappears, who then truly observes? And more critically, whose reality actually begins to form in that void? This unsettling question brings us face to face with a discomforting reality, one where the simulation doesn't glitch, you do. And before we dive deeper, make sure you subscribe and turn on the notification bell. These revelations aren't random, and if this video found you, it was meant to. Now let's begin. Your repeated struggles, the patterns you endlessly repeat, are not flaws in the system. The simulation itself is perfect, unchanging in its fundamental laws. It is your unique observer, your distinct lens, that introduces the distortions. You are the variable, the unpredictable element in an otherwise flawless mechanism. Think of those moments of déjà vu, the unsettling feeling that you've lived this exact moment before. It's not a memory glitch. It's the system flagging an internal inconsistency. Your perception, still clinging to an outdated narrative, attempts to render a new reality through an old filter. The result is a flicker, a momentary misalignment. This isn't about blaming yourself, it's about understanding the mechanics. The world you experience is a meticulously crafted reflection, projecting outward what you hold inward. When that reflection seems stuck, it's not the mirror that's at fault. It's the image you're presenting, still laden with the ghosts of past identities. The simulation doesn't falter, your internal projection does. This leads us to question the very nature of your current existence, prompting us to ask, what if the life you're living is not your own, but a role you're merely rehearsing? You've felt it, haven't you? That strange sense of playing a part, of moving through a script not entirely written by you. This isn't just a metaphor. Your identity, yourself, is less an intrinsic state and more a role, a composite character built from past experiences, societal expectations, and lingering fears. And crucially, you are constantly rehearsing it. Every morning, you step onto the stage of your life, donning the costume of you. The familiar responses, the predictable anxieties, the comfortable ruts, these are your lines, your stage directions. Even when you consciously try to change, an unseen director keeps cueing the old script. Your deep subconscious clings to this role, finding comfort in its predictability, even if it brings dissatisfaction. This role isn't passive. It's alive. It desires to be played, to be rendered into existence through your daily actions, thoughts, and emotional responses. This persistent performance is what locks your immediate reality into a repeating loop. But what if this ongoing rehearsal is sustained by something far more fundamental than habit? What if it's the very focus of your attention that constructs this elaborate stage? Your attention is not just focusing, it's actively building. It is the architect of your perceived reality, not merely an observer of it. Every thought, every lingering emotion, every detail you fixate upon becomes a brick in the structure of your lived experience. You might believe you are simply noticing what is, but in truth, you are commissioning its very existence. Consider the things you continually worry about, the fears that claim your mental bandwidth. They are not just thoughts, they are blueprints. Your attention, acting as a relentless contractor, begins to gather the raw materials, assembling scenarios and circumstances that match the energetic blueprint you are providing. The constant "what if" isn't a passive rumination. It's an active directive. This architectural power flows both ways. When your attention is scattered, diffused, unfocused, your reality reflects that chaotic energy, fragmented, ungrounded, and undefined. But when you learn to harness it, to direct its laser-like precision, you begin to reshape the very foundations of your world. This precise, unwavering focus is not just a mental exercise. It's the key to understanding why your observer acts like a loop device. The loops you find yourself in are not random occurrences. They are the direct output of your observer, a sophisticated recording and playback device. Every pattern you encounter, every familiar struggle that resurfaces, is a replay generated by the unconscious programs running within your perception. Your observer isn't simply seeing, it's continuously rendering pre-existing conditions. This device is not malicious, it's merely efficient. It takes the dominant energetic pattern, the most frequently observed reality, and loops it back as your current experience. If your subconscious believes scarcity, your observer will find scarcity. If it anticipates failure, your observer will find the pathways to that predictable outcome. It's not judging, it's just fulfilling the program. You felt the frustration of breaking free, only to find yourself back in the same familiar situation. This isn't outside circumstances conspiring against you, it's your own internal playback mechanism activating. The good news is, a loop device can be reprogrammed, but to do so, we must first understand the immense force that keeps the old programs running, a force known as identity inertia, the hidden mass of the self. Imagine a massive, unseen force that resists any attempt at movement or change. This is identity inertia, the hidden mass of the self, ceaselessly working to keep your current identity in its established trajectory. It's why breaking old habits feels like pushing against an invisible brick wall, and why new beginnings often feel like an uphill battle. Your identity, composed of countless beliefs, memories, and self-conceptions, possesses a psychological weight. The longer these elements have been grouped together, the more deeply ingrained they become, and the greater the inertia. Your mind prefers the known, even if the known is uncomfortable or limiting. The energy required to shift this mass is immense, often leading to frustration and what feels like failure. This isn't a weakness, it's a fundamental energetic principle. The self strives for stability, for coherence, even at the cost of evolution. It's why you might try a new approach, feel a surge of change, only to find yourself pulled back into the old patterns. This powerful inertia explains why so much effort is often a symptom of clinging to a false identity. You've experienced it deeply, the grinding effort, the relentless striving, the feeling of constantly swimming upstream. This immense exertion is not always a sign of dedication. Often, it's a glaring symptom of trying to force a new reality through the filters of an old, false identity. When your conscious desires are misaligned with your subconscious programming, every step becomes a battle. Imagine trying to drive a car with the handbrake still engaged. You can press the accelerator as hard as you like, but the progress will be minimal, the engine straining, the entire vehicle vibrating with resistance. This is you pouring effort into a manifestation while your inner observer, programmed by a false identity, is secretly upholding the handbrake. True alignment doesn't feel like a struggle. It feels like flow, like inevitability. The moment you notice persistent, overwhelming effort pause, it's a signal, a flashing red light from your system indicating a deeper misalignment. Your energy is not being redirected effectively. To break free from this constant friction, we must engage in micro-experiments that chip away at the inertia, starting with actions that break the loop. To truly dismantle the loop, we don't need grand gestures or spiritual awakenings overnight. We need precise, consistent interventions, micro-experiments designed to intentionally disrupt the established patterns of your observer. These are small, almost imperceptible acts that cumulatively begin to fragment the old programming. Instead of your usual lunch, try a completely different cuisine, somewhere you'd never normally go. Engage a stranger in a genuine, unforced conversation, not about anything important, just for the sake of connection. Change your commute route, even if it takes slightly longer. These aren't random suggestions, they are deliberate challenges to the subconscious patterns that dictate your daily reality. Each micro-experiment creates a tiny ripple in the fabric of your perceived world. It forces your observer to render new data, to process unfamiliar inputs, and in doing so, it begins to weaken the rigid hold of identity inertia. With enough of these disruptions, you'll start noticing strange symbols, glitches, and cracks in the lens of your reality. As you embark on these micro-experiments, you'll begin to notice them, the recurring symbols, the subtle glitches, the unexpected cracks in the lens through which you perceive reality. These aren't coincidences, they are the feedback loops, the system beginning to show strain under your deliberate manipulation. A flickering light, a repeating number sequence, a phrase overheard multiple times in a single day, these are not random. These symbols are like fragmented whispers from a deeper reality, hints that the rigid structure of your current perception is losing its hold. The glitches are moments when the old program struggles to render the new input. They are tangible proof that your observer is being challenged, that the preordained script is encountering resistance. These cracks are doorways, invitations to look beyond the surface, to question what you've always assumed to be absolute. They reveal the pliable nature of reality, showing you that what was once seamless is now showing seams. But even with these cracks appearing, there's often a frustrating delay before true change manifests, a phenomenon known as reality lag. You've felt it, the frustration of doing the work, making the internal shifts, yet the old circumstances, the old self, seem to stubbornly persist. This isn't a failure of your effort. It's reality lag, the inherent delay in the universe's rendering engine. Just as light from distant stars takes time to reach us, the energetic shifts you initiate take time to fully manifest in your physical world. Your current reality is a deeply ingrained projection built over years, sometimes decades. It has momentum, a fixed trajectory. Even as you begin to consciously alter the input, the output doesn't immediately change. The existing patterns have to unwind, the old energetic signatures have to dissipate. This is why the old self keeps showing up, not as a sign of your weakness, but as the final echoes of a dying frequency. This lag can be disheartening, making it easy to fall back into old patterns, believing your efforts are futile. But understanding it allows you to observe it without judgment, knowing it's a natural part of the transition. The old self is not haunting you, it's simply a ghost in the machine, slowly fading as your new identity gains strength. The true breakthrough occurs when the observer collapses, when the role stops playing. The moment the role stops playing, the observer collapses. This isn't a violent implosion, but a quiet, profound dissolution. You've lived through countless iterations of you, adapting, performing, reacting based on ingrained scripts. But there comes a point where the performance becomes untenable, the script no longer aligns with your inner truth. This is when the identity, the actor, simply steps away from the stage. This collapse isn't a loss, it's a liberation. The constraints of the old role, the fears, the limitations, the predictable reactions, they all fall away. It's like a mask disintegrating, revealing the authentic self that was always beneath. The world, previously shaped by the demands of that old character, finds itself without a director. In this void, a profound question emerges. Who is observing now? Who is experiencing the world when the familiar you is no longer the primary lens? This collapse is the prerequisite for true quantum manifestation, but it leaves behind a temporary blind spot, an uncharted territory of pure potential. The observer collapses, but what fills that empty space? And what if, in that very moment, you encounter a radical shift, leading to the blind spot? Who's observing now? In the immediate aftermath of identity collapse, a profound void opens. This is the blind spot. The old observer, the familiar you, has ceased to be the singular lens through which reality is filtered. In this space, who or what is truly observing, it's not a question of absence, but of an entirely new presence, unburdened by past programming or future projections. This blank slate is uncomfortable for the ego, which thrives on definition and continuity. Without the scaffolding of the old identity, there's an initial sense of disorientation, a profound unknowing. But this unknowing is where true freedom resides. It's the space from which an entirely new reality can be constructed, unburdened by the echoes of the past. This blind spot is where radical shifts become possible, where timelines can be fundamentally divergent from what was previously experienced. It's the unobserved observing, a pure state of being. But how do we intentionally navigate into this uncharted territory, and more importantly, how do we reverse engineer a timeline collapse? To reverse engineer a timeline collapse, we actively dismantle the scaffolding of the old reality. It's a deliberate deconstruction, piece by careful piece. Start by identifying the most dominant narratives you hold about yourself, the stories of failure, of limitation, of what's possible or impossible. These are the pillars of the current timeline. Then choose one such narrative. For example, I always struggle with money. Now, consciously and consistently, act from a place as if that narrative never existed, not just positive affirmations, but actual behavioral shifts. Spend money differently, view financial opportunities with a new lens, speak about abundance as a given, not a hope. This must feel like an experiment, not a struggle. This dedicated acting, as if, creates a friction point, a direct challenge to the old timeline's coherence. It introduces a new energetic signature that starts to fray the edges of the established reality. With enough consistent pressure, the old timeline, unable to sustain the conflicting input, begins to buckle. This subtle yet profound process brings us to a final, startling realization. This video was already observed by you. There are no accidents. This video, this precise sequence of revelations, was already observed, not in the past, but in a future you are now converging with. There are no accidents, no random clicks, no chance encounters when identity is on the precipice of collapse. Your true self, operating beyond the confines of your present observer, called this information forth. The patterns you've recognized here, the deep resonance you've felt, are not new insights. They are forgotten truths being re-remembered. You've been walking towards this understanding even when your conscious mind was unaware. This moment, this precise convergence, was inevitable, designed by the deepest layers of your own quantum being. You are not finding this information. It is finding you, and in that recognition, the old self, the old observer, begins its final surrender. Make sure to subscribe for more videos and hit that notification bell so you never miss a new video. We'll see you in the next one.